So let's start off. I want to welcome everybody here today. I want to welcome Jamie Holland, 4-time Emmy nominee, director of photography, coming here to tell us the stories today.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for
How
having me
you
on.
doing?
Good to see you. I mean, I could say g'day, but I don't want to do the Aussie thing, you know?
Well, it's been a few years. Last time I saw you was Alaska.
I know, right? It was in, I want to say 2021, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
You were line producing, got brought in at the last minute to deal with that. And
7 days. Yeah. 7 days before principal photography began on an 8-month prep, they brought me in.
That's right. I mean, I recall it clearly because I was, I'd been dirt biking and I was cleaning my dirt bike outside here.
Uh-huh.
And you rang up just to say, hey, just want to introduce myself. I'm like, dude, that's so awesome. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Yeah.
I kind of felt bad because I just had found out, I think, that day about what they were going to actually ask you all to do.
Right. That's right. I think afterwards you said, oh, if I knew that they were going to ask you to do all of this, I might have reconsidered.
Oh, it was that. Let me ask you what I start off with everybody. What got you into entertainment?
So my path into entertainment's a little different. I started off as a news cameraman back in Australia. And from that, graduated throughout numerous aspects of television, really. And I sort of started into the realm of reality. And once I sort of got a hold of that, then I was like, hey, this is for me. And from there, I just sort of bloomed, as a reality camera operator. I'd gone through the gamut of doing all videos of music videos, commercials, etc. But I sort of found my niche with reality camera work.
Well, yeah, especially like the outdoor stuff. I mean, you're one of the few that are that fit and go in that deep on some of these shows, much deeper than just your regular Survivor type shows. What's your favorite part of what you do?
Look, to be honest, I really love the fact that I can be creative on the spot, on the moment, and using natural light. I mean, I think it's a pretty big thing. Now, when we talk about reality, of course, there's, like shows like Survivor that are very staged in the sense that their setup is staged, and everything's been lit. I've just come off a really, really big reality show, probably the biggest reality show that's going to hit the airwaves. And, that's working with, in a sound studio, big sets. But I really enjoy being out and amongst the wilderness and, being creative with what I see. And sometimes it's not always like, it's not always just run and gun. So, for instance, doing a show like Life Below Zero, where they say, hey, look, you've got 4 or 5 days to shoot a story. It's up to you how you're going to do it. You're the DP. You make it look as good as you possibly can. And that gives me the inspiration to be creative in my field. And that's probably the one thing that I take the most. And it's just like thinking on your feet, thinking in the cold, thinking in the heat, thinking while you've been bloody getting attacked by mosquitoes and all sorts of godforsaken bugs, and coming out with a great product.
You, unlike like a lot of the DPs or a lot of the camera people I work with in certain reality shows, they're going home for the day. We come in, we'll head to Malibu, we'll do some follow through, and they're busting their ass and they're doing stuff. You are one of this group of DPs and group of things that are also producers when you're out in the field. Due to the footprint or the lack of people that you can have out there, you all become actual producers. How hard does that become to handle both that hat and DP?
I guess because I've been doing it for so long now, it's sort of become second nature to me. And it's for me, it's part of communication. All right. So I'm working with talent that I'm trying to get them involved in a storyline that I see. And first and foremost, I always try and befriend like my talent, right? Whoever I'm working with. That could be joking around, that could be telling stupid jokes, whatever the case may be. But I find when I got people laughing, they're going to feel comfortable as soon as I pull a camera out. So that's, to me, that's how I operate. Producing and following a storyline is then just the next element that I take out of being creative with the camera and using light or light sources or however it is. But it also then helps me focus on how we're going to transition from one day to the next following the storyline. So that's kind of how I see myself as when I'm DP producer or shooter producer, however it is. But I also much prefer to have a producer with me because, that also takes a big load off of me, and I can just concentrate on the images.
You go into some of the most extreme locations, though. Like, unlike a lot of other ones, like I think I just read on one of the social medias, didn't you just do like a 20-mile hike in and out on a shoot or something? Like,
Yeah, that was in 2021, actually. That was a
okay,
show that, are we allowed to mention shows?
yeah,
A show called Ocean Explorers for Nat Geo.
nice.
And yeah, we hiked 10, I mean, they say, I'm saying kilometers anyway, 10 kilometers in with a glaciologist of all people to find a hidden lake. And we hiked into this glacier, and we're in the area where the guy's like, hey, there's a lake here. And we're like, well, clearly there's not. So the lake had sunk and then frozen over. And as we're flying the drone around and we started walking around areas, they started to realize, hey, we're in a pretty dangerous situation because there's actually a lake under us. And at any point, we could collapse and go through the snow and ice into the lake. And what we were doing was we were looking for the hidden lake that then had water streams like running through, and then wanting to know where these water streams came from to turn into these massive big waterfalls that then would run off the edge of the glacier and create these gorgeous, gorgeous waterfalls. It's kind of a catch-22, because obviously for glaciers to be melting means it's something that's not going right there, because I don't like to go into the whole climate change thing. But to be there and witness it was just freaking phenomenal and
Oh,
so stunning. Yeah, to hike 10Ks in, 10Ks out, carrying gear. Luckily, I had a really solid soundo, Mike Holden at the time, who helped and carried a tripod for me while I was packing in cameras, batteries, tripods, drone, lenses, etc. It was, it's challenging.
what was your most extreme or most challenging location that you've ever had to capture content?
So I did a show called Whale Wars.
Oh, that's right. I saw that on here.
Right. And Whale Wars was it was challenging in many, many ways. I don't know if people, a lot of people have seen it, some people that haven't, but little backstory. It's like the Sea Shepherd organization went down to the Antarctic to stop the Japanese whaling. And the Captain Paul Watson at the time, was all about action, but without violence to another human being. But he'll sink your ship. If that's what it's going to take, he'll sink the ship, and while you're in the water, he'll help pick you up, bring you in, make sure you're okay, but say goodbye to your ship. So that's going down to the Antarctic. We left out of Hobart, Australia, my first time. And so you got to cross what is the Roaring 40s, Furious 50s, Screaming 60s, the latitude line to get down. We averaged 50 to 60 foot swells. And as we went down with the ship, this wave's coming over and goes past the bridge. Obviously we're in the bridge. I mean, it's a long way up. So when you've got a wave passing you like that, that's where you know where you're at. And then that was just the beginning. That was just to get down there. So then once we're down there, it's the cold. It's getting hit by water cannons, because the Japanese weren't happy to see us. We're out in these like little ribs, like when we call a rib like the little inflatable, we call them a rubber ducky, or
Yeah.
because we call them Geminis, whatever, right? So little ribs. The Sea Shepherd people would be volunteers, I should say, would do things like throw these bottles. It's called butyric acid. So if they threw it and got onto the deck, it would be, and it'd break, obviously, because it's glass. It'd make their working conditions really, really slippery and really stinky, right? If it happened to touch whale meat, it would taint the whale meat. So when they realized, I did season 2. That was my first season. So the Japanese were prepared for Sea Shepherd to come down. So they'd had nets around the side of their vessels, and then they brought on water cannons. And so you're in a little dinghy banging around, and they're just smashing you with water cannons. So you're cold, you're wet, you're getting beaten around trying to hold a camera. And you're like, yeah, surely there's got to be easier ways to make money.
You're like, where's the crafty? Where's the craft service table? Literally shooting cannons at you. Oh my God. That's brutal. You've done, if I'm not mistaken, you've done quite a bit on ships. You did Deadliest Catch as well, correct?
I did Deadliest Catch. I only did one season of Deadliest Catch. They asked me back numerous times, and it was more a pay thing than anything else. Yeah. I would have gone back had they, want to pay me a little more.
We all knew that on that show.
Right. So, yeah.
That show was famous for more than one thing.
No doubt, right? And we all know that. And, but yeah, I guess as a result of, Sea Shepherd, Whale Wars, Deadliest Catch, I have done quite a bit of stuff on boats. The Ocean Explorer was a complete dream because it was a newly renovated ship, the most technologically media research vessel in the world. James Cameron was our executive producer. He had a lot.
He knows quite a bit about the ocean,
right?
Like that.
He had a lot.
Right?
He had a lot to do with helping the setup of lighting, or not him himself, but his people.
Nice.
But yeah, that's another. I mean, we can get to that.
That's
at some
a beautiful.
point.
That's one of the most beautifully shot shows. I mean, the episodes of that's incredible.
Yeah.
What was that like to work on?
I mean, to say having bucket lists of things that was up there. I don't like to say I'm a thrill seeker or anything, but I do like to get my adrenaline going.
When you see the stuff you've done, yeah.
Working out of helicopters is great, and I've done thousands of hours in helicopters, again, in the small boats, in the cold. But my biggest and most rewarding and rememberable thing I did was go down in the subs. So, little 3-man submersible. Going down.
That's scary.
For some, I mean, they're absolutely. I mean, there will be some people that just aren't going to do it. They're like, "Oh, I'm not going down that thing." But for me, I was like, "This is awesome." And getting down to the deepest we went, or what they were rated to was 1 kilometer. So I went down 1 kilometer a couple of times.
And that's just stuff nobody gets to see.
That's right, exactly. And that's, one of the things that, I feel not only am I privileged, but I also take very much in regard that a lot of people don't get to do this. So not am I only doing what I love by shooting, but I'm getting to experience these amazing, amazing things, and then, meet these amazing people along the way, which obviously it's the people that make your journeys and your experiences.
What's the one thing down below the ocean that you remember seeing that you just blew your mind?
So we did a thing called bioluminescence, where we went down, and then, obviously you get down below where it's daylight letting in, and then it gets dark and darker and darker and darker. And they would flash these lights, and then it was just like this sea, literally, but like this vast amount of all these bioluminescence that would just that be there hovering like for 3 to 4 seconds, and you'd see all these little microorganisms just banging around, and then they just fade away into the black. And I was like, I mean, and we've captured it, and you can see it on the show, but I mean, there's nothing like to the human eye. Um, and they tagged a 6 gill shark at 750 meters deep. And the reason for tagging them, they want to know about their age and stuff. And I think I just read recently about, I think it was a grey shark. It might have been, it was 6 gill, but living to like 400 years old, right?
Yeah, the one down. I saw that. I just
Just
saw an
popped up
article
like
on that.
yesterday or the day before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just saw something on that. I
Yeah.
was like, damn.
Right. And
Yeah, they
then-
were saying like it was around during this empire and
Correct.
this thing. You're like, damn.
Exactly. You know, obviously, clearly before cars and stuff, but what empire was running at the time, you know, it's
Yeah.
like, holy, you know, it brings
Yeah.
back. I mean, 400 years old, an animal that long? I mean, phenomenal.
I still like, everybody, there's always these conspiracy theories and all this stuff, but whenever it comes to the deep and the water and how old things are, and I'm like convinced that there's a way for that at some point humans are going to become immortal by just coming on, like taking the stuff from these animals.
I mean, I guess it's the beauty of what Ocean Explorer does, or Ocean X, I should say. Ocean Explorer was the show we did. Ocean X is the organization, because, they're big believers, obviously, in studying what is there. Because, what I learned from them is that the ocean is only like 2 or 3% explored. We know more about space than we do our own oceans. So, we have, not only is it the animals, but it's like all the caverns and valleys that are down through there, and like we're in like these subs cruising around. And when I say subs, because there are two of them, because in one sub would be the talent that we would film with, and then you would film sub to sub. So I got to do both, operating like red cameras remotely in big housings. But to see a tiny little sub up against this like just mountainside, it makes you feel obviously so small. But then I understand that there's like a handful of people in the world that I've only seen this, let alone we're capturing it on film right now and bringing that to the world. It's kind of rewarding and pretty special at the same time.
But yeah, there's a small group of people that have been able to really go as deep as you have in these areas and things like that and see it for our industry. And
Right.
it's amazing. It's like crews that go up to Everest. I think,
Correct.
I think we both know a gentleman, John Greiber, and how many times he's been up there and different things like that. But it's amazing how talented you all are. But on top of it, how physically demanding to get to those areas are, and you all are able to do it, which, let's be honest, most people in our entertainment industry they're not that good of shape. I can't get to those places. I'm in the rear with the gear. I'm like, hey, I got food for when you all get back. I tell me, let me see that.
And we
footage.
appreciate that, dude. It's like a freaking starving, man. I think I told you, like, when we were on that show, Race to Survive Alaska, like, I came out of there. And I'm like, dude, I had a mummy moment. And you're like, what do you mean? I said, I'm soaking freaking wet. I'm cold. I've been hiking all day up and down these mountains. And I was just like, I want my mum. I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? And I'm like, never again. And then I finished the show, and 3 or 4 days later, I'm like, well, that was kind of cool. I wouldn't mind doing it again.
I got to tell you, that was a scenario that I have not been in often. And I was in that position on more than one occasion on that show, especially with a gentleman named also Joe Quigley.
Yeah.
But people like the crew, whether audio or camera, showing up and not being completely given the task ahead of time about what they would be doing. And it's one thing to show up on set and go, hey, we're changing the day and you got to relight this guy and we're going to have a conversation with him and his wife over here. It's another one to show up on set and say, by the way, you're going out for 3 days at a time by yourself and you need to carry your own food and gear in and out. And by the way, nobody told you you're going tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, minor detail, right? Sorry, forgot to tell you, but
yeah, I'll tell you, it was. I remember the group on the car, and I remember Catherine was there.
Catherine Burrows, yep.
Yeah, Catherine Burrows, and you, and then Quigley came in late, and I just remember the faces, and I remember just going, wow,
Yeah,
like, wow.
I mean, you can totally remember, dude. Like, I came back out of being in the bush for like 3 or 4 days or whatever it was, and my accommodation situation hadn't been sorted. And I'm like, you put me back into a Motel 6 where we've got security outside our doors. I'm like,
oh, it was
Aaron,
a shit show.
Aaron,
it was a shit show.
What are you doing here?
I walked in. I would get a phone call every night, and I would get called like they were that. I don't know why they put you all in that hotel. I remember showing up, and my niece used to work the cruise ships, and she would go in and out of Ketchikan, and that's where we were based on the first one.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, where are you putting your crew? I said, we're all over the place. Like they don't even know where they're putting them. Like it's a shit show. You don't even understand what's going on behind the scenes. And I told her one of them was that Hotel 6, and she goes, what? And I go, yeah, half of them are in there. She goes, that's where they all go and shoot meth and crack
right.
for the fishing. And literally everybody was coming back going, there's people smoking crack in their room.
Bullet holes in the windows. And I'm like, oh, what did production do? Oh, we won't move you out. We'll put security guards on there. But to their credit, and your credit, obviously, because you were there, I mean, we're just out of COVID. And, cruise ships are coming, people are coming, it's summertime. And I think, getting into some of these places that we're in were quite late. And, you're bringing in a crew of 150 people and you need accommodation for 150. It's like you're scrambling, right?
Was I able to get you in on a private boat?
I was just going to ask you, can you remember where you put me, dude?
I remember.
If we could only put photos up on this podcast, you got me in this bitching private boat. And when people think, oh, private boat. Oh, no, it was like a glamorous yacht for, I don't know, I think it's 3 or 4 bedrooms. Like it slept like 6 or whatever. Yep. But I had it to myself and I'm like, damn, Aaron's doing his job.
I remember I came back after I walked, you all went out, and then I just got into town and I went and walked that hotel, and I came back and was like, nope, we got to start, we need to start getting stuff. And this one coordinator goes, hey, I was in a bar last night. Some guy's looking to rent his boat. And I was like, get him on the phone, book it, just get them all out of here.
The funny thing is no one else was there with me. It was just me. I'm like, and you're like, no parties, no this. I'm like, hey guys, you want to come and say, I think you want to come and have a beer with
me. Yeah. How, we're just talking about the laughing of that. We're talking about a few people, out in these locations that you have to go to, you become family with these crews because of the locations, because of the remoteness of it. How important is camaraderie amongst the crew in order for you not only to get through the shoot, but to actually shoot good content?
Very much so. I mean, look, going out on, say, the Sea Shepherd boats, for instance, we're out at sea for 3 months, not all at once, for half that period before you come back and resupply and refuel and then go back down again. So you're in tight quarters all the time. Something like Life Below Zero, where you're a smaller crew. Like we get flown from one location to another, onto another plane, put onto a helicopter, taken in, having all your gear slung in, and then you're there, just a small crew and your talent. It's like, and we all know, and it's happened to all of us in the industry, but when things just don't align, it makes it difficult. When you're, living in a Arctic oven, which, a tent that you have to freaking heat yourself and goodness knows what else, pooping in a bucket, whatever, blah, 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 I won't go into the details. and there's only 4 of you, you damn well want to be able to get along well, because just the slightest little thing just
Oh,
rocks everything. And unfortunately, I've had it, I've had it on bigger shows and I've had it on the smaller shows. So
yeah.
camaraderie is super important. But I tell you, when you get that team together, there's nothing like it.
Talk to me about how difficult it is to do what you do and be away from your family for so long, but still love your job.
So the hardest thing about it is, I have my daughter now is 12 and my son will be 9 in a couple of months' time. And, my son, like when I'm getting taken to the airport by my wife and he's crying and says, "Dad, I don't want you to go back to work." I mean, it just rips your heart out.
Yeah.
Um, they know that that's what Dad does. Um, and now that they're a little bit older and Dad comes home and after a couple of days is getting cranky because the house isn't clean or how he wants it to be done, they're like, "So Dad, when are you going back to work again?" But it's difficult. One saving grace is having for me a supportive wife, and that makes a world of difference. And I think we can both agree that the industry does put a lot of stress on relationships, on
Oh,
marriages,
yeah.
and it's not for everybody. I mean, I wouldn't be in the position that I am without a supportive partner and a supportive wife, and without her, things could be a whole lot different. So,
One of the bigger, or one of the more, I should say, recognized names of shows that you have been a part of was Amazing Race.
mhm.
How difficult, like when people are watching that show, the whole thing is pandemonium for these people. What's it like behind the scenes on a show like that?
And it's pandemonium for the crew as well. You know what? I look. I say that in jest. Really,
Yeah, of
I
course.
mean, I'm new to Amazing Race. I'm just about to do my 6th season. So some of these guys that have been on from either beginning or we're about to do season 39. I guess
Wow.
I can say that. Yeah, we can.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
great show.
and like Bertram and Elise are amazing people to bring this show and bring all these people together. Um, there is a formula in a weird way, and I've learnt that formula, but you got to be super. When I say super fit, there's a lot of running involved, carrying the
I was
camera,
gonna
carrying the
say,
gear. You got an audio guy running along with you, or audio girl, however that may be, or a female camera operator, as Catherine is,
Catherine, one of the best.
and another young lady, Holly, who's come out from Australia, um, and it's chaos. But you know what? It's like chaos that I enjoy, because you go wherever the contestants want to go. And it's like you're in a vehicle and the sign says turn left, but they turn right. And you're like, I can't say anything, but I go with it. And then it's like, hang on, we got to run up this street here, but you're running to the right. And now you're going to take us another 3 kilometers or a mile out the wrong direction, which we've all got to run back again. So it's like, it's interesting, and it's organized chaos. I love it. I do.
Yeah.
I love it. You become sleep deprived by the end of it, but
Uh-huh.
you do get an enjoyment. And what makes this show so great is the people. And
Yeah.
so we always say, like, the race family. And as I said, I'm about to do season 6. My season 6 seasons, is to be involved in the race family is awesome.
When you described it as organized chaos, that's what I've always heard. But again, it's one of those things that you said, they have a system, and everything that I've ever heard about, it's like, to develop that system and to continue to be able to deliver that type of content and that show, you have to be a good group of people. you know
Absolutely. And when I
yeah.
say organized chaos, I mean, we're just the running camera team. Then once I've finished as the contestants drop off, the crew drop back, and then you might get moved on what's called zone, and so you jump ahead so that as the race comes through, you're there to receive them. But then now you're working with a whole bunch of different crew that are country producers and game producers and people who have set up, worked with locals to set up courses, whatever that may be. It could be bloody abseiling off of a, high-rise building, or, it could be eating monkey brains, or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's like, well, now you got to move into that realm, and how do you do that and be creative? And it's still a challenge, no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
it's the people that really make it worthwhile.
I always kind of judge my trip or my job or how I'd like when I go into a location on a meal. I always try to have some epic like meal, and whether it's something that ends up happening on set or whether it's something I go out and get. What do you look back on as one of your most memorable meals that you've ever had?
Dare I say, like a buffet in Thailand, in Bangkok, with the Amazing Race, where just every dish is just freaking amazing. It's no Western food. It's got flavor and spice. You're like, and it's a buffet, and it's like, oh, just a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But it's like, I'm going back again. I mean, I've eaten a lot of things that probably people haven't heard of.
What's the weirdest thing you've tried?
Caribou heart's probably the...
Oh.
But it was delicious. It was delicious. So I was in a Arctic oven, so we call it an Arctic oven, right? So it's the tent that you're up in, and it's heated inside, with an Inuit guy who's pretty much there to keep me alive, in Nome, Alaska, doing a show called Bering Sea Gold. And, I mean, it's freaking freezing out there. It's minus whatever, cold, right? And he and I are in the tent together, in the Arctic oven together, and he's like, Jamie, and when he talks, he doesn't, no expression. I have something special for you. And I'm like, oh, what's that? What, Trav? And he's like, caribou heart. And I'm like, really? And he just cuts it, like big, thick chunks. And then we had like a little gas burner, and he had a little frying pan. He put a bit of butter in it. He went, shh, shh. And that thing tasted delicious right there and then. I'm like, hang on, if it's a steak, I'm going to cook it for a little bit. I mean, I like things rare, but this was and delicious.
I always have them try to put me up somewhere where there is some form of a kitchen or something where I can cook.
Right.
Just so, again, you just can't live on McDonald's and all of that other stuff.
Remember, you in Alaska, you invited me out to your little cabin that we had out there, and we cooked up these awesome steaks. And
that's right.
I brought out red wine, and you were in that little cabin.
That's
right towards the end of the show.
Yeah.
And you're like, Jamie, you've got to come on out. And I'm like, and in fact, you came and picked me up and brought me back out to that little cabin.
That's
it was
right.
on the edge of a lake somewhere, and
yeah,
I was like,
I had a couple people out there.
Yeah,
yeah,
well, I was probably I was the last one, but thanks, mate.
No, I think you were the first. I think you were the first, and I had a little they had a little barbecue, and it was right off the river. And actually, I was pulling salmon out of that river as well. That was actually my favorite part of that trip, was just going off the side of that Copper River and pulling salmon
them out. Yeah.
Oh, what do you think is the most misunderstood aspect of your job?
That you can just point a camera, press record, and everything works. Hello. Firstly, I'm dealing with a producer, a director, the EP, he's like giving me the shits. And then after that, you want me to be happy and create good images. Well, let's see. Oh, that's right. The AC you gave me, because you wouldn't let me employ my own AC, is green. I asked for a tripod and he brings me a light stand. What the? Yeah. If that sort of sums it up in a nutshell, there are many things, but I think that's probably the most difficult thing, is people thinking, oh, it's just so easy being a camera operator. And I'm like, well, there's a whole lot more that goes onto it. I mean, I always say to people, like, first and foremost, you've got to be good at what you do, which I hope to think I'm good at what I do. But not just that, then you got to be able to get along with people. And if you can't do that, then you're a guy that's good at what you can do, but you're a dick. And then fucking no one wants to, excuse my language, no one wants that, right? They don't want to have a hard scenario that makes everything uncomfortable with all the other colleagues around you.
Another show that you've done on, and it's something that has been around for a very long time. People don't realize how many seasons is Swamp People.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, of all the cast that, we've talked about working with, that seems to be one of the more fun casts that might be able to work with. How's that?
Yeah,
show?
if you can understand the word they're saying. I did a lot of stuff with crocodiles back in Australia, and alligators are like pussies compared to a freaking crocodile that will rip your head off, And because here you shoot the alligator. In Australia, you're not allowed to. So you have to catch it live.
Oh.
Dude, the biggest one I filmed was 17 foot. So let me tell you this. So they bring in a helicopter and they sling in like, big cattle grates, right? And they make a great big ass pen. And then they have a trap door at the other side. And then they'll get a wild pig that they've shot and they go in and they put that in the pen. First and foremost, when the helicopter's like lowering those pens down, there's got to be somebody in the water grabbing those pens and hooking them together when you know that you're going to try and catch a 17-foot crocodile, right? I'm like filming like, I always tried to make sure it was a triangle. One person there, two either side, and I'd be in the middle, filming around. I'm like, if anything, it's going to get one of them before it's going.
Always did that.
So that was always what I do. But yeah, so then they put it all together. They get the trapdoor, they get the pig in there, and the smaller crocodiles, like 10, 11 foot, can get back through the gaps in the grate. But when the big guy comes in, he ain't getting out. And then now you got yourself a big old live crocodile, 17 foot. It's like, how do you get him out? So you get a snout rope and they've got to climb over. They won't go into the pen, but climb over and get him angry enough where he's like launching at you, and put the snout rope around the top of its snout, right? And then once it gets it, they pull it tight. It goes into a death roll. Then they've got to then put like tape around its snout. So now they've got to jump in it. But the thing is, not only is that thing not going to freaking snap you, but once the snout rope and stuff's done, that's okay. But now it's still flipping around and its tail will just break you in half, the power that it has. So, yeah, when I've done Swamp People, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Fun and the characters are great. But going out with crocodiles, I'm like, it's a real deal.
With the exception of the crocodile, have you had any close calls with any animals out on any of your location shoots?
I mean, I got bit by a python, but that was, they like crew dared me to catch a python. And I'm like,
it was a dare.
You give me a dare? Yeah, okay. Again, I'm not that smart, Aaron, so we're filming, it was a spin-off show of Swamp People, actually. It was called Serpent Invasions. And there was this python there, and it was a mean-ass python. I grabbed that freaking thing, but I didn't get it close enough behind the head, and it just launched around, and it latched onto me. And one of the other camera operators was shooting it in slow-mo in like 240 frames, and he's like, okay, so I'm like, and this snake's like.
If you had to choose one ethical principle to put on set for everybody to follow so that we could always, have a great shoot, what would it be?
That's so easy. Speak to other people like you like to be spoken to yourself. That is
nice.
It. That's it. I learned the hard way. I mean, when I started out as a news cameraman and being in a news office, hearing all the yelling and screaming and carrying on, and And then as you go through in the industry and you see it, and I'm like, you know what? If you've got a problem with somebody, pull them aside and talk to them. Don't berate them in front of everybody else. But more so, just talk to somebody. It's not the biblical thing, but just talk to people like you like to be spoken to. Don't be above it. You might be the DP or a director or executive producer. Just talk to people like you like to be spoken to. And, you get so much more from your crew from doing that, and so much more respect.
Yeah.
So that would be my most ethical thing.
What have you learned from being an absolutely dependable and incredible crew member that you've been able to translate into your personal life?
I think, I was told in my early years of television when I was still doing news, and it was, Jamie, sometimes you just need to shut up and listen. And even to today, I'm not really good at it. But I do try to, in my personal life, try and shut up and listen. And I seem to be better at it with other people, friends, colleagues, etc., than I probably am with my own family. I'm probably a lot stricter with my family, especially my kids, because I'm a high achiever and I just want the best for them. So whilst that's been the best advice to me, and that's what I try and put into my personal life, it's not what I always do. And it's something I feel like I still need to work on. I'm 55 years old. I still need to work on the fact that I need to just shut up and listen, and maybe sometimes keep my mouth shut.
Oh, I'm the worst. But in general, I think as crew, especially the ones that go out into the field, we are a little bit of a different breed. So that extroverted kind of personality does seem to be prevalent, not only in a lot of us, not just you. You know what I mean? I think it's a tendency for most.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, you're with a crew, whatever size it is, and you're joking around, you're cussing, it's this, it's that, you're backslapping, and then you come home and all of a sudden you got to shut that off and you got to be a family man, and it's like, hang on, I've dropped a few f-bombs. Oh, Jesus, hold that back. Is it right? And you're right, and it's just the ethical way of dealing with it all. I don't like to say the fact that you got to switch it on and switch it off, because I just want to be me no matter what, no matter how it is. And I got myself in trouble for it, with family members, whatever. And I'm like, well, hang on. I'm not going to pussyfoot around and tiptoe around and keep my mouth shut when I see something that's not right, Damn, I still didn't learn. Keep your mouth shut.
That I have the line of people that are pissed at me for that. That one starts to the right and it goes around the corner. So cue up.
Right.
Get to the back of that line. There's enough people. But again, like I've said, you're going to get all kinds. So you're going to get people that are offended for no reason. And especially in this day and age and in this new world that we're all trying to navigate, being in what we're calling the older person, we're letting stuff rip that we came up letting rip that, you just can't do on a set anymore. You can't even talk
Absolutely
about.
not. And let me tell you, on this show, I was on Beast Games that I was just on, a director, can I say her name or?
Yeah.
She was like how we grew up. There was no political correctness. There was no, and do you know what? It put all the crew at ease, and we all laughed, and we're all on
Nice.
comms, and we're going, what could be a long ass night was made enjoyable because she just made it fun.
Oh.
Now, take her out and put her in the politic correctness. She's just getting stripe. But it was so much fun. And it's what we grew up with. And, there's definitely, we have to abide and we have to change and we have to respect people. I'm not going to go down that line, but of all walks, right? But, at some time, just see the humor in what it is and don't be getting upset because you've said the wrong thing, because no one's going out of their way to say the wrong thing. We're all in it together, and we all just want to joke. And, we're in pains if we're carrying an Alexa 35 for, over an hour on our shoulder on an easy rig. Yeah, we got an easy rig, but I mean, it's still heavy as hell, and we're still like sweating balls, but, we're laughing. So it's kind of making a little bit more acceptable for what we're
Yep.
doing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
Oh, yeah, for sure. I love that.
yeah.
What advice would you give to somebody who wanted to do what you do now, who's trying to break into the business?
So I think I touched on it earlier. No, I think I did. I touched on it earlier. I will take anybody that is green, that is willing to learn, willing to listen, willing to ask questions, willing to hustle, right? I will take anybody, and I'll take them before I take someone that says they know what they're doing and is slow and lazy, etc. And there's a fine line, right, between asking questions and talking too much, knowing when and showing initiative. Hey, can I help out? Is there anything more you would like me to do? No, done. Boom, step back. Okay. At the right time, why are you doing it this way? Why are you doing it that way? Can I carry that for you? Right? Give me that person and I will guide them. I truly believe that, I think it's, I guess, a trait of mine that I've really tried to help and mentor young men and women that really want to learn. And I can see that, and I can pick them, and then I can also pick the ones are talking too much or whatever, and are going to be hard. And I will go out of my way to help mentor them if they show me those traits. So that would what I would suggest would be my best advice.
I mean, the work that you put in to what you do, it's unbelievable. Not just the physical work, but the work to get those shots, the work that it takes to get that beauty in those locations. I mean, you are going down as one of the best there ever was. I mean, it's incredible the
Thank you.
stuff that you've done and part of that crew. So, and thank you. I want to thank you for being here today, and thank you for sharing all your stories with us today, mate.
Mate, thank you very much. Absolute pleasure to be on here. I'm glad you asked me to come on. And as I said, just tip of the iceberg, some of the stories I can tell. But awesome chatting with you. So much fun. And I hope your show does well, mate.
Oh, I love it. Thank you.